What's up, friends? My name is Freddy Giorlando. I'm here with Keith Andrew on the Keith Andrew Network. I think what he's doing is incredible. I think he's inspirational, motivational. I think he's a beacon of hope for people with learning disabilities, that you can do anything that you want. And I just think not even for people with learning disabilities, but just humans in general, what Keith is doing is very inspiring. And keep up the good work, buddy. I'm happy to be here. So I started off, I was born in New York, New York, Manhattan, Lower East Side, Knickerbocker Village to be exact. And I was raised in New Jersey, Old Bridge, New Jersey, Middlesex, Monmouth County, a couple of towns away from Bruce, the boss Springsteen, where he grew up. And I was always a comedian or a class clown in school. I always did plays when I was younger. I didn't know why I was doing them. I just enjoyed performing. So I guess I didn't know I was going to be an actor when I was younger. But yes, I knew why I enjoyed performing, and it was exciting. And performing in front of an audience was something that really gave me joy, to be honest. So I did a lot of plays in middle school. I did a play called Bye Bye Birdie senior year of high school, which was great. And after getting out of high school, there was a decision to be made of what I'm going to do with my life, because I went to like one semester of college and it wasn't for me. I'm all for school if that's, if it's your path and it resonates with you. Obviously I have a son. I have a 13-year-old son. So school is very important. Education is super important, but school wasn't for me. And around that time, after I dropped out of college, I had this interim period where I wanted to be a boxer. I wanted to be an amateur fighter in New York, boxing, which I still work out and train to this day because I just love the sport. I love the fight game and the sweet science behind it. And after college, I had my son, Anthony, at 19 years old. And for the first couple of years of, going into fatherhood at a young age and figuring out my life and what I wanted to do, I would just go to the gym and kind of lose myself in the training of boxing. That got my mind off of things, as far as dealing with really coming into fatherhood at that young age, and taking on that responsibility of being a dad at that age. And a lot of external pressures coming in, a lot of questions from my family and friends. What are you going to do with your life? What do you got to do? What are you going to do with your life? You're a father, you got to figure it out. I felt all that. There was a lot of pressure, and it was a huge responsibility for sure. After a couple of years, I decided, all right, well, boxing isn't for me because I didn't have the passion to keep going. But I do remember always loving to perform when I was a kid. And that senior year play gave me the confidence to just go into acting as a career. Because I remember that play. I had to sing a little bit and I didn't know how to sing, and I had to just perform a little bit, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but it was a great run. And I really enjoyed it. So I was like, I enjoy doing that. Let's get into acting. How hard could that career path be? Well, if someone would have told me back then, hey man, you got a long road ahead of you, it's going to be ups and downs. Maybe I would have thought twice, but I feel like I still would have gone and just went forth with it. And I decided to start taking classes in New York. I went into the city. I would drive into the city from New Jersey multiple times a week for class at HB Studio in New York in the West Village off of Bank Street. And it was just a great time, man. I studied there for years. I learned a lot about myself. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety at the time too, being a young dad. And what am I going to do with my life? Is this going to work out? Is acting going to be the path? A lot of stuff. So acting gave me the therapeutic release when I would perform embodying characters and certain situations. It was really a cathartic experience, therapeutic release, and it really meant a lot to me. And I learned about myself through going to HB and performing every week in front of a class. I learned a lot about myself because I wanted to control my emotions, not just for the character, but as Freddy, my anxiety. I had to get some type of manage on it. So I started reading a bunch of books. I remember my teacher, Michael Beckett, always used to talk about, philosophers and, quoting them. So I would do some research. Then I got into, reading books about law of attraction, self-help, manifestation, being present, being self-aware. That would help me manage myself, thoughts, emotions, how I would react to things in life. That was all because of acting, because I just wanted to not be nervous performing. But in a sense, also I just wanted, it allowed me to kind of manage my stress and what I was dealing with. And it in turn just made me a better human being. So at that moment, I knew that this is what I had to go forth with, because there was a calling. It hit my, the craft hit my spirit, and it made me a better individual. So there was a connection there. And it means a lot to me, acting and just the craft in itself. So I was doing a lot of theater at the time while I was studying at HB, doing a lot of off Broadway in the basement theaters, performing to like 3 people. Didn't matter who it was. We would go out there, perform the play. I remember I did a new play called Slums of Neverland in the theater for the New City. And we got a summer run when I first started out, but we performed that whole play at different festivals over a year. So the first few years I was studying, training at HB under Michael Beckett, who's a phenomenal teacher. And he taught me a lot, man, even without teaching me, just by being and by, he would tell stories about different, Buddhist monk stories, or he was he was like a guru. So I would learn from that. And he would use terms of like osmosis, and he would talk in like quantum theory, and he would drop these facts, and I would always research them at home on the computer. What does this mean? And that would take me down a rabbit hole, and then ultimately that's why all form of knowledge is ultimately self-knowledge. Bruce Lee says that best. I believe that, and it's definitely paid off in my life. And after doing theater and studying, I got some representation in New York. I went out for a few auditions, a bunch of auditions actually, that I got a lot of no's, but then there were a few yeses, and I booked some work. And one of the projects I got to book was Vinyl on HBO with Martin Scorsese. Got to work with him. And that opened the doors in New York to a bunch of casting offices and a lot of industry folks. And I met a lot of people through that. And and then after that, I got into producing after like 5 years of acting in New York and been doing that. And as I was transitioning out to LA, I got into producing independent projects, theater. My current project, Content is King, that I produced with a team. It's a short form documentary mockumentary series that's currently up for Emmy consideration. And now, that was a lot about myself, so the actor, producer, but also just being a father has been the biggest blessing in my life. And the pandemic, we just all went through it and still going through it. At the moment, it's not fully gone, but it really taught me about family, how important it is, and really, your friends and being healthy, how important that is. And if you don't got, in my opinion, just connection with God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, with your family, with your friends, and your health, nothing else matters. It really doesn't. In my opinion, that's just my experience. So it's very important for me to stay while I'm doing all these things, to stay grounded and to stay present and what I want to do and what I want to accomplish and who I want to help along the way. So a lot about myself.
No, absolutely. So now we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, you did mention a couple of interesting subjects that I do want to talk to you about, but we can talk about that when we come back from our commercial break. Okay, so now we're back from the commercial break. The first thing that you mentioned that caught my interest is you mentioned having someone who wants to represent you. Now, I've been doing this for 8.5 years. How do you get somebody to represent you? Now, for me, people are like, oh, you're a talk show host. We can definitely represent you, but you have to pay us first. So with everything that you accomplish in your life, did you have to pay for people to represent you? And how would people follow in your footsteps?
Yes, I will answer that question. If anyone's asking for you to pay them to represent you, they're not for you. By industry standards, agents, managers, they get a percentage of what you make after you book the job. And they, their job is to submit you to projects and, pitch you and do their best to get you in the room and get you seen into audition, but they don't get paid unless you get paid and unless you book the job. So if anyone's, requesting you to pay them for them to represent you, do not do it. And just from experience, when I first started out, I was very green and there were a lot of pay to plays, like people to represent you or agencies, and like you would pay this fee and you'd be a part of this agency or modeling agency or this agency. And I did that for the first couple of years until I realized, what did I just do? This is pretty, scammy or whatever. And then once I started meeting folks that have been doing it, after you do it for some time, you get to surround yourself with good people and people that are more experienced. And you always want to surround yourself with more experienced individuals, always, because it just betters you as not just a person, but as an artist. And, you get so much knowledge from someone that has all that experience. So with that being said, if anyone asks you, or requests a payment for them to represent you, don't do it. It's a no-go. Red flag.
No, I agree with you. There's people that I won't mention, but there's one guy in Florida. There's one person in Jersey. There's one in New York, and they seem like nice people. But then we talk about business and you have to pay me if you want me to represent you. You have to give something if you want to receive something, and it's kind of like. Then you start thinking, okay, maybe they're right, but then you talk to someone like you, say, don't do that, it's a scam. So when you're trying to get through the door, and I think I have gone through the door, number one, but there are some hurdles there. But I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Say you're in my position and you want someone to represent me. And I came to you and I said, do you know someone who would be willing to represent me?
So I would say this. You're a beacon of hope and light for people with learning disabilities by doing this right now, by doing your own talk show. You're really giving inspiration and hope to other people with learning disabilities that they can do whatever they want. And that's your mission, for the show. I know that's your mission and your objective, and it's the best and it's admirable. And now when you were to submit to an agency, right? The beauty of this, especially in the entertainment industry now, is they open doors for all kinds of individuals. And people with learning disabilities do, if you want to get into acting or whatever the case may be, they do have people that will take you on because there are work for people with learning disabilities, which is amazing. So I would just say to focus or pinpoint the agencies that are looking to help you get work, to looking to help take you on, knowing that you have a learning disability, and knowing that, hey, I could, you are motivational because you already are a talk show host, and in your cover letter and your pitch, You could say, hey, I have a talk show, and I do have a learning disability, and it's me being a beacon of light and hope for everybody to do whatever they want. Not just with people with learning disabilities. What you're doing is just inspiring a lot. It inspires me, inspires human beings in general, man. It's not just you doing this, just inspiring people with learning disabilities. You doing this is inspiring a whole ton of people, man, a whole ton of folks. So you could, since it's a business, but it's really your story. It's what you're doing. You could tell that in the cover letter or the email. And it's just a matter of doing just like research of who's taken on clients and pitching yourself properly to them. Yeah, buddy, that's what it's about. It's really for me, and this is for anyone that's looking for rep. Before I was looking for rep, you would do your due diligence on the company, on who they represent, on their roster, and you would see which company would be a good fit for you, and you just would reach out via email. And it's a grind, and it's a hustle, and it can be a little bit exhausting, but with doing that and with doing the focus, hard work, you could get someone to rep you. You just got to be on top of it and do it. And listen, you're already doing a talk show consistently. It's a production. So I'm confident in you just doing the work and actually submitting yourself, and you'll get picked up.
Hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But actually, you bring up a good point, and I do want to talk to you off the air about the other thing I want to ask you is, have you worked with people with disabilities besides me? And what type of trying to find a word for the exact word for it. Say you work with people with disabilities, but if you found someone interested, have you ever thought about doing a documentary about that person?
I have not worked with anyone with learning disabilities yet. You, Keith, yes. I have friends, of course, that have learning disabilities. But I have not yet to work with anyone yet, aside from you, of course, on the interview. But as far as a documentary, personally, I'm not looking to do that. I'm not going to never say never. I feel like what you have in your story in itself is inspiring. So that is a project of its own. But I think that there is probably someone out there that is, yes, looking for someone to be the focal point of their documentary piece. And it's just a matter of finding them, to be honest. And you're going to find them by literally, you just asked me the question. There's going to be a filmmaker on here next time. You're going to answer that question, but they may be like, oh, I know someone that actually, yes, he or she works with people with learning disabilities. And actually, yeah, they're making a project about them right now. I don't have anyone off the top. I wish I did. But yeah, there's definitely someone out there. So it's just a matter of continuing to kind of plug away.
No, I understand. And like I said, there's tons of great ideas, but this is your time, not mine. But the other one I want to add to you, because you are an actor and a producer, and actually, and yeah, so you do produce things, you do all these great things in the entertainment world. What is your honest opinion? I usually say this for the off the air, but I'm not actually right now. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And what do you recommend to other people? Because I got people like, well, when I got your message, I think it's really interesting, but I think a lot of people say it's a scam. What are you selling? So I want you to tell our viewers and listeners, what made you say yes when you first got it?
Your message when you messaged me?
Yes.
So of course I'm going to do my due diligence and say, hey, all right, let's see what this talk show is about. And knowing that you want to be an advocate for people with learning disabilities, that's a very, very admirable mission in life, and really admirable, message behind your program. So that's what made me say yes, because you're literally the living inspiration. So I just wanted to be a part of that, wanted to connect with you, talk with you, chop it up with you. I didn't get like, whoa, what does this person want from me? What's the scammy? It's like, no, you're just asking me to be on your show. And, you get people that you want my honest, right answer. I always keep it, open, honest, and move with integrity. Right. I continue to do so every day, in this industry. And there's folks that will pitch you, they'll DM you, they'll pitch you. And, there's projects that seem intriguing, right? And I'm friends with a buddy in the studio system, and we talk about this a lot. And it's just kind of like, just in life in general and in business, you kind of want to work with someone that you may or may not have a relationship with. If you don't have a relationship, you're familiar with their work, they have a body of work, something to kind of, because you can't answer everybody. That's the thing. There's not enough time in the day. I wish there was. And I don't want to sound like I'm all high and mighty. But what I do honestly is I'll always say, hey, I'm looking for a project now, send it my way, or I'm not, or I know someone that's looking. I definitely, whenever I get it in, I'll definitely respond to mostly everybody, honestly, unless I really don't know you and you're pitching me something that's completely left field, because, you have to have some time to yourself as well. In general, because you can't spend the whole day responding to everybody, because then you're not going to have a life, so just set boundaries. And it's just for everybody, man. Just set boundaries throughout your day, schedule. Okay, this is when I'm going to respond, just so you have a healthy way of going and moving throughout the day. You could have time for yourself, to sit with yourself for your thoughts. But when mostly, honestly, everyone that hits me up, I respond. It may take a day or two sometimes, because I might be in the throw of things, or I might be like on set or running around and my head's in another place. And I might circle back and say, yo, dude, my bad, dude. I'm just seeing this now, because I'm really just seeing it now. But I'll respond to everybody, and I'll usually find a way I could kind of navigate or help them, or I'll say, no, man, I'm not looking for anything right now. I got a couple of projects lined up, but listen, shoot me this email so I have it on file. And I'll tell you what, the people that I do keep in contact with them. But then I see folks, and this is like a little bit of advice. I see folks that will pitch me and I do not know them. And I'll say, hey, just shoot it over to my email. Not to just like be all high and mighty, but really, I'm going to eventually get to it. I'll look at it. I'll take a gander at it. And I'll probably like see, all right, what's your body of work like? But there's a lot of folks that don't follow through on the email. They don't. They'll try to get the quick, in, right? But then if they see that there's nothing in it for them at this moment, it's like off to the next. But the big thing in this industry is relationships and networking, but doing it organically and genuinely and with authenticity. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, for me, I never look when I meet someone or I pitch someone or whatever. I don't like to ask people for anything. I like to bring value to other people. What could I bring value? How could I help here? So I could approach someone that I may not know and be like, hey man, love your stuff. If you need something or someone like me or blah, 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 I could do this for you. If not, all goody. I just want to say what's up. I appreciate your work. And it may work, it may not, but the thing is, I reach out, I offer value, and then there may be an organic, authentic relationship, because I'm not looking to take, I'm not looking to take, you know what I mean? So this industry is built on really great relationships, organic relationships, and just longevity in itself. You have a tribe of individuals that you connect with. You can move mountains in this industry. But all of the people I have around me, thank God, man, it's been organically. It's been through working with this person, introducing that person, and, you know, being at the right place, right time. It's, and that's it, just being open to it. But yeah, don't go for the quick game. But to answer your question, man, when you hit me up, I know I did a whole, you know, roundabout answer, but I really want to just kind of give some insight, you know, some good nuggets, if you will. Hopefully people take it and they're like, okay, well, this makes sense. This may help next time I go to pitch or I go to approach a function or whatever the case may be. But no, when you hit me up, I'm like, okay, Keith Andrew, let's see what Keith Andrew's about. And oh yeah, you know, you're inspirational, motivational. And I was like, hey, I'm in, you know, sounds good. And then you being flexible to coordinate a time too, because I've been busy and such. But no, man, it's great to be here. And thank you again for having me, bro.
No, absolutely. I do have some great ideas for you off the air. But wrapping up, it's a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. For our viewers, make sure to like and subscribe to the Keith Andrew Network, available on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And as I always say to our listeners, until we meet again, catch you later.